And so a lot of people say that investing in biotech is incredibly risky, and that's absolutely true. Potentially you're investing in companies that have no products, that are working on developing new products that haven't come to market yet. And because it's such a regulated industry, producing medications and treatments for people, it can take up to 15 years before some of these treatments are actually approved. And with that comes a lot of expense. It's very expensive to develop these treatments. And they go through a number of phases. When you look at the pipelines, they go through a number of phases to test how effective these treatments are and are they safe. And so a lot of the stocks that I document on this channel, it can look like the companies don't have any money. If you just look at their accounts, their basic accounts, you can see that they're very tight, they have very tight budgets. More recently with the likes of Precigen, they've had to raise capital by offering more shares to the marketplace as well. But the truth is, if you peel back the layers of a number of these companies, and I'm going to talk about a number of different companies and their owners in this video, you'll actually see that these owners, these owners are billionaires. And what they're doing is they're doing something which is a little bit sneaky, if you like, is that they're leveraging separate entities to help bankroll these initiatives. And so when you look at the likes of Dietmar, Hopp, Phillip, and Randal, Kirk, they have built their careers and their fortunes from building out pharmaceutical companies. And so that begs the question as to what are they doing that's making them so successful? How are they making so much money from pharmaceutical companies that they're building out? And one of these guys is a billionaire called Shiong. He's made his fortune, a fortune of around 7 billion in the pharmaceutical industry. And you can see here on Simply Wall Street that he holds 41.8% of Immunity Bio. But he also holds a lot more of the shares of the company, but in separate entities. If you look at California Equity LLC, for example, you can see here the SEC form from the 23rd of July states that Patrick Soon-Shiong is a sole member of California Capital. You can also see that there's another LLC called Nantworks LLC that holds 14% of Immunity Bio. And when you go onto the Nantworks website, you can see that it's founded by Patrick Soon-Shiong as well. But again, just up on your screen now, you can see that historically, Patrick Soon-Shiong has already leveraged Nantworks LLC to finance Immunity Bio. You can see here on the website it states 50 million of debt financing from Nant Capital LLC and conversion of approximately 56.6 million of debt held by Nantworks LLC into Immunity Bio equity. And so when you look on Simply Wall Street and you just do a little bit of an assessment on Immunity Bio's financial health, you'll see here that it just states that Immunity Bio have less than 1 year of cash on the runway and that it has negative shareholder equity as well. And this is the kind of information that is likely to scare shareholders away. They're just going to look at the information at face value. They're not going to peel back the layers and see that Patrick Soon-Shiong in this case has set up certain entities in order to bankroll his initiatives, which in turn this puts him in a highly favorable position for the success of Immunity Bio. And so I suppose my point is that when you go onto the likes of Simply Wall Street, for example, and you look at the financial health, it's not actually really giving you a correct assessment of the situation. And so fundamentally, when you look at Immunity Bio's pipeline, you'll see that basically Patrick Soon-Shiong, what he's doing, he's got quite an ambitious pipeline here. You can see he's got a series of treatments in phase 2 and in phase 1 as well. And he is using these entities, these LLCs, in order to keep bankrolling the company as it continues to fund and develop more treatments in their pipeline as well. Another thing that at face value with Immunity Bio, for example, that would kind of concern investors when you look at just the information at face value without kind of dissecting it into further detail, is the fact that they have debt of 956.3 million. Again, you can see here that Patrick Soon-Shiong, he sold APP to Fresenius for 3.7 million, and part of this deal involved the assumption of 940 million worth of debt, and that's again something to factor in through kind of research, through looking at historical patterns of the past. That's one of the critical things that I do. I'm looking at human behavior. So these billionaires, what are they doing? What have they done in the past? Because that is typically going to really help me to inform what their future behavior may be, just in terms of, being adaptable, leveraging different LLC companies, how they've done deals in the past, looking at things like this debt, for example, with Immunity Bio, and seeing that in the past, there have been companies that have been willing to buy previous companies owned by Patrick Shiong and take over that debt as well, simply because some of the treatments must be highly lucrative. The pipeline is really important. That's kind of another thing that I'm really looking at. I'm looking at the billionaires. I'm identifying the different institutions or LLCs or affiliated entities that are associated with the billionaires. And I'm looking at this pipeline as well, just to kind of get an idea of kind of the strategic vision of the future. What treatments are they trying to develop? Typically they're going to be in high need, high demand. These guys have a track record, the likes of Dietmar, Hopp, the likes of Phillip, Patrick Shiong and Randal Kirk. They are very, very commercially driven individuals. You can see that purely by the fact that they've amassed such wealth, so they are always going to prioritize treatments that are in high demand, that treat an unmet need. And so Patrick Shiong is worth 7.1 billion, and currently Immunity Bio are trading at $5.28. Randal Kirk is worth 1.4 billion, and Precigen is trading at 82 cents. And to me, Precigen right now just seems to be a really good opportunity. Again, not investment advice. This is just based on my assessment. I hold quite a lot of shares that I bought in Precigen at a fair amount higher than it is now. I think it was around $1, something around that. And I've kind of made 2 entries into Precigen. Dietmar Hopp is worth 5.1 billion. And CureVac is trading at $2.76, and Phillip is worth 2.1 billion, and Opko Health is worth 1.5 USD at the moment. And so each of the billionaires that I've just mentioned, they're majority shareholders in each of those respective companies, and part of that ownership, if not all of it, is held through a separate investment arm, an LLC. And again, like I was saying, they're leveraging these LLCs to help fund these pharmaceutical companies, to help develop the pipelines. Once they've developed a compelling pipeline, can just be one medication, one treatment, it can be kind of a smaller portfolio, that's when they exit and they sell on to a larger pharmaceutical company, they cash in and they make their money. And so part of my investment strategy is to kind of almost replicate that behavior, right? And so one of the great things with these respective companies is that if you kind of track them consistently, you're going to find a number of opportunities to make entries at very, very good prices. You have to have a level of grit, if you like, or fortitude, in order to make entries at kind of low entries with the likes of Precigen at the moment. But typically, fundamentally, like, that's my strategy, right? Is, I've made really good entries in Immunity Bio at around 1.3, kind of slightly gutted that I didn't put more money in, if you like. But again, it's the same principle of just tracking all of these different companies, knowing that these billionaires are funding these companies, because part of it is also, these individuals have a lot of gravitas in the field. They have a level of ego, and with that ego comes this real kind of grit. They're not going to want to fail, if you like. They have this fortitude, and you have to kind of almost mirror and match that fortitude, tracking these stocks consistently, identifying entries, when they're trading at $1 or thereabouts, right? That's kind of around the price that I'm kind of looking at with each of these stocks. And then as you can see with Immunity Bio, that's kind of a perfect example of what happens once they get a treatment approved by the FDA, which is ready to be marketed and sold. That right now is a 5x. There was a point when that had 10x, and it was trading at around $9 or $10, bearing in mind that I made an entry at 1.31. And so I've spoken about Randal Kirk in probably the last 3 videos, just simply because to me, Precigen seem to be trading at a really, really good price right now. There are a number of catalysts coming up with this stock in 2025. At the same time, there is potentially the risk with stock split, simply because they're trading at $1, but I don't really see this happening, simply because potentially, and I think this is what Randal Kirk will do, he can leverage certain things in order to delay any kind of decisions on this. I feel like he can delay it for at least a year, simply because he has a special circumstance coming out with the development of this new treatment called RRP, which is going to meet a significant unmet need. And with that, that is likely to trigger the share price. But like I said, I made 3 other videos on Randal Kirk, and it's worth, if you're interested in investing in this stock, I really recommend you take a look at those 3 videos, because I cover a lot of topics on that theme. On top of that, I would really recommend that you kind of use other resources as well, and kind of make your own assessment too. And so in the next few videos, I'll take a bit more of a deep dive into dietmar, hopp and Phillip Frost. I'm going to look at their entities. I'm going to look at what they're doing, much like I've done in this video with Immunity Bio, and much like I've done with my previous videos with Randal, Kirk and Precigen. And naturally, I will just keep you posted, because the stock market is always changing. My strategies may change depending on which of the stocks that I'm holding increase in value, and if I identify any new stocks where I think that there's a compelling service offer and the opportunity to make money from them as well. But look, thanks very much for watching. Have a great day, and catch you in the next one. All the best.